Ever feel like you're kind of, you know, on autopilot, just going through the motions,
Yeah.
not really getting why you do the things you do?
Yeah, I've totally been there.
That's where this whole know thyself thing comes in.
Right, like it's not just some dusty old quote.
Exactly. It's like a guide to actually, living a life you choose, not just a life that, like, happens to you.
And who doesn't want that?
So today we're going to dive deep into that, and we've got some seriously interesting stuff lined up.
Yeah, should be good.
We've got Jordan Peterson, that book, what's it called? Knowing Yourself.
Yeah.
A Journey to Self-Discovery.
Oh, yeah, I love that one.
And even some Sadhguru thrown in for good measure.
That's a good mix.
Peterson, right off the bat, hits us with this radical humility thing.
Yeah, that one always gets me thinking.
It's intense. He's not just saying, hey, be humble. He's talking about really looking for the stuff we don't want to see about ourselves.
It's like holding up a mirror, but not the kind you're used to.
Right. He gives this example about a stack of papers, right? Like the kind you've been avoiding for weeks.
Oh, I know that stack.
And he's saying that just looking at those papers for 15 seconds can feel impossible.
Because it represents something,
Exactly. It's that stuff we'd rather just avoid, those things about ourselves we don't want to admit are there.
And that's the thing, right? This confronting our ignorance bit. As tough as it is, it's really the first step. Like Knowing Yourself, that book, it talks about how self-discovery isn't about finding some fixed you.
You're always changing, right?
Yeah, exactly. It's way more about noticing patterns, like in how you act, how you react to things.
Oh, totally. Like, I am the queen of procrastination. I always tell myself it's because I work better under pressure.
Don't we all?
But honestly, sometimes I wonder if I'm kidding myself.
And that right there is self-reflection.
Is that what we're calling it now?
But get this, Sadhguru, he comes in with this total curveball. He says we confuse who we are with the stuff we collect, our knowledge, our experiences, even our bodies.
Whoa, that's a lot to process.
Right. Like, what if we're so much more than all of that?
Okay, you officially blew my mind. So if we're not our experiences, not our bodies, then what are we? And how do we even begin to figure that out?
$1,000,000 question, right. And that's where this discarding what you are not exercise comes in. It might sound kind of out there, but trust me, it's actually really useful for getting to the core of who you are.
Okay, so how do we actually do this whole discarding what you are not thing? It's a little like a magic trick, right? You just make it all disappear.
Well, not quite disappear. It's more about shifting your perspective a bit. Like, picture this. Close your eyes and list off everything you usually identify with. Could be your job, your relationships, maybe those thoughts and feelings swirling around.
Okay, got it.
Now, here's the key. One by one, you say, this is with me, but it's not me.
Well,
It's like you're creating a little distance, right? You start seeing these things as parts of your experience, but not the whole definition of you.
okay. Yeah, I'm starting to get it. It's about separating who you are from what you experience.
Yeah.
Powerful stuff. But how does this tie in with the more, like, practical self-reflection stuff we were talking about?
That's the $1,000,000 question, right? It's almost like Sadhguru is giving us the why behind the how, if that makes sense.
Okay, yeah, I see that.
And when it comes to the how, both Peterson and that Knowing Yourself book, they've got some really solid tools to try.
Hit me with it. I'm all about practical advice.
All right, well, first up, good old-fashioned journaling. Knowing Yourself really hammers this one home.
Journaling? Seems kind of basic.
It's more than just a diary, though. Think of it like detective work.
Ooh, I like that. So I'm Sherlock Holmes, but the mystery I'm solving is me.
You got it. You're writing down your thoughts, your feelings, all that, and you're trying to spot patterns, recurring themes. What kind of situations keep making you feel a certain way? When do you feel super energized, or the total opposite, completely drained?
I never thought of it like that.
Trust me, you'll be surprised by what you find when you start actually paying attention.
That actually makes a lot of sense. Sometimes, I swear, my emotions come out of nowhere.
Yeah.
But you're saying if I keep track, I might actually see the connections.
Bingo. And this is where Peterson's advice comes in handy. Remember that radical humility we were talking about earlier?
Yeah, how could I forget?
Well, he applies that same idea to self-improvement. He says, compare yourself to who you were yesterday, not to some perfect version of yourself, or even worse, someone else entirely.
Oh, man, that is so true. It's so easy to fall into that trap, especially with social media and everything.
It's a constant comparison game, right? But Peterson reminds us that real growth, it's about those tiny steps forward, not some massive overnight transformation.
So ditch the self-judgment and focus on the progress, not perfection. I like it. Okay, so you've got journaling, focusing on personal growth. But what about those outside perspectives we talked about before? That's where that excerpt from the website comes in, right? The one about being known by another person. Okay, yeah, this is where it gets kind of deep, right? Like, kind of personal.
It's true. This whole idea that sometimes to really know yourself, it starts with being really seen by someone else.
I bet there are people listening right now thinking, wait, hold on. I need someone else to tell me who I am.
I get it. It's a natural question, but it's not about someone like putting you in a box or having all the answers. It's more about, having someone in your life who can be that honest reflection without the judgment calls.
Like a mirror,
Yeah.
but like one that talks back to you and, isn't afraid to tell you if you have spinach in your teeth.
Exactly. And the excerpt uses this example, right? It talks about a parent saying to their kid, "Look at you, such a happy little boy," when, let's be real, the kid is clearly not happy.
Yeah, I can see that.
So if that happens enough, it messes with your own signals. Makes it harder to trust your own gut.
Right, like if the people around you aren't seeing you clearly, then how can you see yourself?
Exactly. So it's not about needing someone else's validation. It's about finding those people who get you, who can help you see yourself, maybe a little sharper, a little clearer than you could alone.
And maybe challenge those stories we tell ourselves, the ones we've been clinging to for years, even if they're not really true.
100%. It's about breaking free from those warped perceptions, the ones that can really hold us back.
Okay, so let's say you've been journaling, you're comparing yourself to, yesterday you, and you've had those real honest conversations with people you trust. Then what? What do you do with all this self-knowledge?
That's the exciting part. Because like Peterson says, it's not just about understanding yourself, it's about using that knowledge, to make better choices, to live on purpose. He even uses this phrase, potential for mayhem.
Mayhem. Okay, that took a turn.
It sounds kind of intense, but stick with me. It's not about going out and causing chaos. It's more like acknowledging the parts of yourself you might not love. The shadow side, we all have one. But once you know it's there, you can actually work with it instead of letting it run the show.
So it's like knowing your triggers, knowing your weak spots, knowing the things you might be tempted to do, even if they're, not the best ideas.
Exactly. And that website we talked about, it highlights these awesome benefits that come with this kind of self-awareness. You're not so easily swayed by what others say, good or bad, because you've got a stronger sense of who you are.
You're calling your own shots.
Right. And you're more likely to think for yourself instead of just following the crowd. And maybe the best part, you bounce back from challenges better because you understand yourself so you can handle things more effectively.
Like you said at the start, it's a roadmap. Knowing yourself maybe doesn't give you turn-by-turn directions, but it shows you where you've been, where you are now, and which way you might want to go.
That's a great way to put it. It's a journey, not a destination, right?
So for everyone listening, here's something to think about. If knowing yourself is this ongoing journey, what's one small step you can take today to get a little closer to your own truth? That's all the time we have for this deep dive, but make sure you're subscribed because we've got a lot more to explore together.